Good evening, good morning, good week, good month, good year to you, Diane. How are you? Welcome to episode 39 of this Rockin' Cash Bar.
We're 39. We're almost 40.
I don't want to be 40 again.
No. Well,
40 this year.
I don't mind turning 40 with you. I wouldn't mind turning 100 with you in this podcast. That's different.
We can do it. We'll make it. I want 100 years or 100 episodes of podcast wisdom.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be happier about 100 podcasts than I was about turning. Although turning 40 wasn't really that bad. Turning 35 was weird. Have we talked about this before?
Yeah,
turning 35 really fucked me up.
Yeah, we talked about that on here. Yeah, 30 was hard for me. 40.
It just went away. I woke up this morning and I checked my phone. I went into the news app and I clicked on a story from Fox News, which you really shouldn't do. But this one was about an alligator on a golf course in Florida, which is like my absolute favorite thing. Like I love it. I'm a sucker. Pythons in Florida and alligators in Florida are my favorite stories. So I clicked on this, and there's a video of the classic, like the alligator walking over the putting green and everything like that. And I couldn't have been happier for it, because alligators belong on golf courses. It should be just alligators chasing dudes. Like, it shouldn't even be golf anymore. I just want to see rich guys fleeing from alligators. But now my whole news feed is just nothing but golf related stories. It's just constant like golf scores and golf updates, which I don't care about at all. I have zero interest in golf whatsoever. And I just want to tell my algorithm, I was just like, I want to watch alligators eat rich guys.
Alligator algorithm. Alligator algorithm. Alligators.
Alligator rhythm. I just want to watch dudes in salmon shorts fleeing for their lives, like every other right-minded person. I don't.
Exactly.
It's like my phone doesn't even understand me anymore. Like, my phone and I have to go away on a little retreat and reset our relationship. Get a private little hotel somewhere. A mani-pedi for the phone. Come on, algorithm.
That sounds really nice.
It really would be sort of sweet. Just, phone, it's been a tough year for all of us. Let's get to know each other again.
We're not communicating well.
Even though we communicate all day, every day. Hey, I got my screen time usage down 23%.
Congratulations.
6 hours and 15 minutes a day.
I'm not going to say what mine is or has been or what the highest has been. It's real bad.
Is it still higher than 6 hours and 15 minutes?
It's about the same, but I think at one point I got it up to 8.
Yeah. I spiked to about 11 at one point. And that's not for a long day. That was an average for a week. I felt really, really bad. Like, if I put the phone down and if I'm not listening to podcasts or I'm not reading news stories or I'm not playing games or something like that, there's like a weird feeling that comes over me. And I realize, like, this is just my own thoughts bubbling up through my own brain again. I don't do that nearly as much as I should.
Yeah, we got to learn how to do that again. Okay, what are we doing today? You excited?
We are. I am really excited. Why don't you introduce our guest? I'm happy to hear from this fella.
All right. We are bringing in a good friend of mine. He's a comedian, musician, journalist. He's been on NPR. He's been on the Bob and Tom show many, many times. And he's been on the Doug Loves Movies podcast. Very funny guy. Let's let him in. Jeremy Essig.
Jeremy.
I always do it too fast, and I know I have to wait for them to hear me. Hello. Now I can't hear him. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Asked to unmute.
Hello.
There he is.
There he is.
Sorry about that, y'all.
How you doing?
Right.
I'm good. Everything works now, so now I'm
Oh no! It said now I'm
Is it doing it again?
I think this is going to be better than when we tried before.
Okay, well, just keep me posted.
Okay. So, Jeremy, we gave you the option to choose any song, and we went through a few, and you kept changing your mind, and I finally just said, pick something that you can talk passionately about, and we landed on I Will Dare by The Replacements.
Yes. Eventually, I just looked at my arm, and I was like, what band do I have a tattoo of? Oh, okay, we should go with that one.
What's your Replacements tattoo?
It's the Pleased to Meet Me cover. I don't
Nice.
know if you can see that. Yeah.
Yep, with the hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I eventually because I think every day I was like, well, we could also talk about, and then I was like, hey, dummy, what's on your arm? Just go with that.
when did you get that tattoo? How old were you?
37.
All right.
So these were the well thought out actions of a mature man. You definitely knew.
Yeah, all of my tattoos I got in like my late 30s. Like at that point, I was like, well, I've had enough time to think about this, so I might as well do this now. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
my
weird.
husband's the same way. He said he would never get a tattoo. He was not into tattoos, and now he basically wants his whole body covered. So,
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Yeah. I mean, well, because when I was younger, I just had dumb ideas. I was like, well, what if I got like the cover to Kiss's Rock and Roll Over, but I put the Spice Girls in it instead of the Kiss faces? And now I'm like 42, and I'm like, thank God I didn't do like that. Joke would not be funny.
I know.
I always kind of feel when I see a kid who's like covered in tattoos and he's 25 years old, I always think, well, do you think that nothing significant is going to happen to you later on in life? Like you don't have any more skin space to keep this record that you're working on.
Save space. It's your life story, man.
Nope, 25. That's where I peaked. I got that last skateboard and I was done, man.
I am done. So are you like, are you from Minnesota? That's where the Replacements are from? Are they like local boys to you, or where did your love of the Replacements come from?
So no, I grew up in rural Ohio. And like there was just like, I think this is going to be I walked up a hill both way to schools of our people our age. Like there was no internet at this time. So like whatever music I could get was only MTV, right? Like that's all I could possibly ingest. And then when I was 16, because that's like when like Nirvana had broken and like that was becoming a thing, they finally opened an independent record store in my hometown. And these dudes were great. I still remember the day they finally, because I would just hang out in there for days. And like, I remember finally one day I went to buy that first Candlebox album. and the guy behind the counter was like, yeah, you don't want that. And but he wasn't like he wasn't dickish about it. No, he was like trying to be helpful. And so he gave me a Mudhoney album.
Nice.
And that, like, it just prompted everything. Like, I remember I went to buy, like, the second Sugar album, File Under Easy Listening, and they were like, oh, well, here's every Husker Du album. Like, they just kept doing that and doing that. So
what a nice, helpful man in your life.
There was two guys. It was this guy, John, who was, like, as punk as you could be in rural Ohio. Like, he would shave his head, but he also had, like, the Pittsburgh Steelers logo tattooed on the side of it. And then there was a guy named Corey who I can only identify as like rural Ohio Evan Dando. Like he was like dreamy Alterna guy of like southeastern Ohio. So anyways. So like they were just educating me just constantly. And then like 2 years later, my band met with this other band that was like my mom's friend's son's band who was in LA to quote unquote make it. And they were like coming home for their triumphant like return show, and they were cool enough to to meet with our band. Weirdly, one of the guys in that band is now the drummer in Faster Pussycat. But anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. It's just a weird aside.
Nice.
So they said to me, they go, "Oh, if you want to learn about songwriting, you have to listen to Paul Westerberg." And I think either 14, I don't know if eventually it was out yet or not, but I went to the guys at the record store and I was like, yeah, they told me to check out this Paul Westerberg guy. And like my two gurus at the record store were like, wait, we never got you onto the Replacements? Like,
oh my God, we missed a step.
Seriously, it was like the only thing I equated to is like, imagine if you learned a bunch of Spanish words and then all of a sudden someone was like, oh, we never told you they have gender. You know, like that's what the look. They were like, "Uh-oh, we never told you about the Replacements." So I bought it was a compilation just come out of just their stuff from Sire, and it was I've only had this happen 3 times in my life where I've just heard and I went, "Yep, that's what music should sound like." Like that's exactly like it was like the Replacements, Sue, and Churches were like the only 3 times, because every other time like I either missed how like REM, I feel, or like the Psychedelic Furs. I was like, it's just pop music, whatever. And it took me like, I really had to unwrap it to go like, oh, this is amazing music.
Yeah.
Or like, or it was like Husker Du, where it was like, I need to, this is, or like song, you're like, there's a lot going on. Like on and this is like almost offensive. I need to like really get into what's going on. But the Replacements were one of those bands. Yep. Okay. This is it. Yep.
Yep.
That's kind of funny because I had a similar thing, but it kind of coming from the other way. I went to a Blockbuster Music. It wasn't an independent record store. And the guy there, the checkout guy, was just kind of making fun of me because I was buying like Tom Petty's greatest hits. And I was like 16 or something at the time. So I took it personally. So I went and did a little bit of reading. And I heard, like, I read probably maybe even the same article that you did. Like, if you want to know about songwriting, it's got to be Paul Westerberg. So I went back and I looked for the Replacements. The only album that they had was the Sorry Ma, Forgot to Take Out the Trash reissue.
Sure.
So I bought that, and I wasn't ready for that level of like punk music. It just my brain wasn't ready. I loved it, but it wasn't something that I could handle. So I went back a little while later, and I bought All Shook Down from like 10 years later, when it's like the more muted, like the kind of the Westerberg that we know. Like, he's a hell of a lot more laid back. So I missed out on everything in the middle, and therefore missed out on the Replacements entirely. It was like I just got into these guys.
Yeah, I think that was where I got lucky, was like those Sire albums are definitely going poppier, but they still had a lot of edge. So it was like, you got the edge, but it was softened. Where like, yeah, even now, like sometimes I'll put on like Sorry Ma if I'm not in the right mood, and I'm like, nope, not today, not, this time of the day. So that's like a hard one to like, I think, start with.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think what you said though too, it's like the of like, because record store clerks are portrayed like that Jack Black character, right? Where it's just like like you were saying, the guy from Blockbuster Music or whatever. But like, if you get a good one, it's like, sit down, son, you're about to learn cool things.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, it's like it's the magic uncle sort of thing. What do kids do now? Like, if there's no record store guy, is it just internet comments? Like, how do they?
Yeah.
Who are the
Google.
arbiters of cool these days? I don't know. I'm 40.
Google, they do message boards, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what the kids are into, which means I am not the arbiter of cool. It's not me. So it's someone outside of me.
Whoever's listening, whether you're listening on YouTube, write to us if you're a kid. Tell us how you doing this now. How you getting your music? How are you learning what's good and what's cool? I mean, yeah, fill us in.
Tell us what's hip, man.
All right. So before we get into the lyrics of this, Jeremy, you're going to have to constantly throughout this song explain to me how this isn't, Paul Westerberg isn't going to be in a To Catch a Predator situation with Chris Hansen.
Okay, so that's so, because I will, but like, so did you read that on Songfacts?
No, this is just me reading the lyrics.
Okay, because that was something in Songfacts that was like, this sounds like it's written by a pedophile, and I was like, I had never even considered that, but I will. as best as I can, I guess.
If you listen to the song as a teenager and you're thinking about another teenage girl, like, how old are you? How young are you? Like, that's not, it doesn't even cross your mind. Like, statutory rape isn't a thing yet. But as an adult reading these lyrics, we're in the Me Too movement, and everybody's so like tuned up. Their antennas are so high, where I'm just like, what do you mean? How old is she? We should get into the lyrics.
Okay, let's do that.
How old are you? How young am I? Let's count the rings around my eyes. So he's probably a little older, right? But I think like they wrote this song when he was like 24 or 25, right? So he's not that old, is he?
So Bob Muir wrote that Replacements biography, which is great. It's called Trouble Boys, and I guess this song was written while they were mastering Hootenanny, which was the album before it. So that would have been February of '83, which would have made Westerberg 23.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's not old, but he's probably like at that stage where you've got your driver's license, you're old enough to drink, you've been drinking for 2 years, you're finding yourself.
So that's the thing. Never had a driver's license.
He never did.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the whole band while they were together, none of them had driver's licenses.
Well, that's
who drove
a good
the van?
What's that?
I said, who drove the van? What's going on?
Peter Jesperson and Bill Sullivan. So Peter Jesperson was the guy that owned a record store in Minneapolis that signed them to Twin Tone, which was his label. And Bill Sullivan was this crazy guy that they essentially just took with them kind of to drive and to amuse them.
Okay.
And then when they would get too drunk to play the songs, he would come out and do covers.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, he wrote a book called Yellow Jail, which was just about how bad their tour van was.
Yeah, when you said they didn't drive, I was actually relieved. I'm like, oh, that's how they survived. Like, because from what you read about them, they were drunk on another level all the time.
Yeah, which is, so I don't normally do this, but for this, I decided to get back into that, have my PBR and my Jack Daniels.
Wonderful.
That I'm drinking out of. This is like me bringing out my fine china. This is my glass from the Uptown in Minneapolis where Bob and Tommy Stinson's mother worked.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Which is now, I believe, an Apple store. But so I keep this very protected, but I brought it out for this.
Oh,
so,
well, I love it. Thank you for bringing it out for us.
Of course.
It's a fitting tribute. I want to be 23 years old and have my prank monkey driving my tour bus. That sounds like I'm just super jealous.
I know. I feel like that's what we missed out with when we started comedy. It was like, yes, I was behaving like a jackass, but there was always someone who had to drive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It was like, this is fun for everybody but that person.
Yeah.
Like, you just hope someone like had a friend who was, like the hope was always like, you were performing with someone famous enough where your friend was like, yeah, I'll drive you there if I can meet him. Like, I remember the couple times I worked with certain people and my friends were like, yeah, I'll be sober, man. I just want to hang out with that dude. And you're like, cool, I can drink the whole night. This is going to be great.
Do you always feel like you have to babysit that friend, though, and be like, don't be fucking weird. Like, be cool. Don't weird out the headliner.
I still have one friend that I think about. He shall remain nameless.
Nice. All right, let's keep going with these lyrics so we can then just talk about the replacements.
How smart are you? How dumb am I? Don't count any of my advice. So he's like, obviously we don't even know if this is a man and a woman yet, but obviously it's headed in that direction. But you can kind of see that, like, yeah, he's older, but he's also like incredibly immature, right? Like, if he's saying it's like how smart are you? How dumb am I? He's obviously conceding like you're a smarter, better person than I am. So is he like justifying it in his own head? I know I've done that.
Well, so this is, again, I'm getting this from that Trouble Boys book. Westerberg was real into writing anti-U2 songs at this point.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like intentionally trying to write like, I guess I Will Follow for him by U2 was like somehow like, it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to lead a thing. I'm going to be a jackass. So like
Right.
the song Kids Don't Follow was a direct answer to that off Sting. And then this was him writing another anti-anthem, which is just like, I'm an idiot. Why are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Like,
it feels like he's very self-deprecating the way a lot of stand-up comics are. And he's just like, I'm dumb and I'm desperate and I'm going to let you know that over and over and over.
Yep.
Oh, meet me any place, anywhere, anytime. Now I don't care. Meet me tonight. If you will dare, I might dare. So he's clearly daring her. Like, if you're up for this risk, then so am I. It's almost like, and this is probably part of what's making Dianne kind of uncomfortable about this, is he's like throwing the ball in her court. Like, he's just saying, it's your decision. Whatever happens after that is on you.
Yeah.
Well, so this is, and again, I had never, because you're right, Dianne, like when I heard this when I was in high school, like I wasn't like, oh, this is creepy and this is, some kind of pedophilia type, like Catch a Predator type thing. Like so when I read that on Song Facts, I was like, wait, is it?
And
then I listened to it.
And I was, how young are you? I'm like, why? Why is that the first line?
Well, right. So again, like this is why I reread two different books on the replacements. Like, is this in there? And the only thing they said about that was Westerberg had a number of relationships he shouldn't have. And it doesn't indicate if that was an age thing or like it was because he was cheating on his wife or he was sleeping with like other musicians' girlfriends. Like that's all kind of in there, except the age thing. But it did make me go like, uh-oh. Because like 23 isn't 43.
No.
But it's still not appropriate.
Right.
Like, like I think if you're like 18 and you're dating a 17-year-old, you're like, oh yeah, you were both in high school at the same time, like, whatever. But yeah, like 20, like, so no, like, it's funny. I picked this song for a completely different reason than I read that, and I was like, uh-oh, my bad.
Well, it wasn't a big deal back then either. And it specifically, he didn't say, how old are you? He says, how young are you? And that is a very different question to a different person. And we talked about it in the Jesse's Girl episode, how Rick Springfield was living with and dating Linda Blair, who was 15, and he was not. He was older.
Yes. Yes.
Which I think back then, like, people were just like, eh.
So I guess my only other caveat on this, and this is not a defense, I'm just thinking through some of this as we're discussing it. It could be a reference to Tommy Stinson. So Tommy was 12 when he joined the band, and the rest of them were 20.
Oh, whoa.
And so 16 Blue on this album is a direct song, like turning like 15 or 16 or something. And so that would be my only other thought, is like, is because a lot of like Tommy and kind of became like a crew within the crew, if you will.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is this him and Tommy?
Nope. I'm gonna have to have him say that again.
Yep.
You're frozen.
No.
Come back to us. Come back to us. Oh God, he's really frozen. Usually they snap back.
That could really be true, though. Like I didn't think about that, but having a very, very young band member, that means having that very, very young band member's friends hanging around, which also means the very, very young girls hanging around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have thought that. Like reading, if I was reading these lyrics when I was 23, I would just think of it as like, this is a guy psyching himself up to go and talk to a girl. That's not necessarily. It's not necessarily like anything untoward directly. Oh, he's gone altogether.
I removed him. I'm going to let him come back in.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly joking, saying that I think that he's a creep and this whole song is suspicious. I can't read these lyrics and not bring it up, but I can let it go for the rest of the song.
I think it's going to be something that like as time moves on and everybody's thinking sort of collectively evolves, you're going to have to reckon with the things that happened before, like songs like this written in the mid 80s when ideas were a little bit different and there was still that boys will be boys sort of thing. Like, we're just going to have to be like, as a culture, we're going to have to be grown up enough to understand different time, different era, different set of values, different set of norms.
Also, we're so sensitive to everything. It may not have been about that at all.
No, I don't think it was.
I'm creating a story that's not there.
But when you're 23, like I was a 23-year-old guy once, and the idea of like, I'm sure there were definitely like 18, 19-year-old women that I were attracted to, or that I was attracted to. But I would still look at, like, even though I know in my head now that it's not a big age difference, I'd still be looking at like 4 years, man. I don't know. I'm 23. I've been paying rent for a while. I've been on my own for a while. She's just out of high school. What am I doing? Is this okay?
I remember feeling that age difference more at like 24 to a high schooler than I did like 30 to a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets weirder as you get older, because there were times when I was like 35 and I'd be attracted to a woman who's 25 or 26 and be like, okay, this is not really appropriate. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. But then my dude brain would like lie to me and just go, hang on a second. What you want from her is far more wholesome than what the men her age want from her.
Yeah. At some point a lot of older women are still going to sneer at it. At some point, the age difference, like after the girl is like, or getting closer to like 25 to 30, it's okay. Like, I feel like it's okay. She's a woman by then who can make these decisions. And, I think in some people's head, they're like looking at the age difference, like, well, when you were this age, she was in junior high. It's like, no, that you can't look at it that way, because it didn't happen that way. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the way it is anymore.
Hold on. Jeremy's saying, it says I was removed, won't let me back in. Let's invite him again. There we go.
This is just my nightmare.
It's okay. I'll edit all of the bumps out.
It's all right.
No, I mean, it's like like y'all, I probably have like 50 Zoom meetings a week.
Yeah.
Like this never happens, and then on top of it, I pick a song with pedophiles in it. Like I'm not getting like, because I know you're editing this, so I'm just gonna say this. This is legitimately one of my favorite podcasts. Like when you posted about this, Dianne, months ago, I was like, wait, funny people in music? I'm going to love this. And then I listened to it and I was like, I do love this. So when you were like, do you want to come on? I was like, hells yeah, I want to come on. And now I'm just having technical issues I never have. And we're talking about pedophiles. And I'm just ruining everything, essentially. My apologies.
No, did you hear Sarah Talamash's joke about like being the one with bad Wi-Fi on the Zoom meeting is like the kid at school with lice?
Yeah, that's essentially me tonight.
She said she was on one that was so bad. She's like, I don't even know why the guy's trying to piece it together. It's just not going to work.
I don't, and not to get too into the weeds, but like, so this is my mixing room for the record label. Like, I have to have really intensely strong internet so I can send these gigantic files.
Yeah.
I'm paying an insane amount for internet. Like I should be, like have insanely fast speed. Instead, I'm the one that's like, oh, my dial-up is. Hold on. Yeah. So I'm just a disappointment as a human. But I suppose since we're talking about the replacements, that's completely appropriate. Like, how dare I try to do something professional while we talk about this band?
Maybe.
So anyway, sorry.
Maybe they sprinkled a little bit of curse on you for this.
I think they did.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's go. We were at Call Me on Thursday. Yeah?
Call me on Thursday, if you will, or call me on Wednesday, better still. So he's just amping up the game. Like, call me as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Ain't lost yet, so I got to be the winner. Fingernails and cigarettes, a lousy dinner. That's my favorite line.
It is mine too.
Fingernails and cigarettes for dinner many times, especially when I was 23.
Don't you just picture a foot doing this under the chair too? Just like cigarette. It's just like you're just jittery and
yeah, absolutely. That's why I don't think that this song is about a much older man and a much younger girl. I mean that's part of the process, but this guy is very nervous about meeting her. Like it seems to be more that Paul Westerberg is hitting on a girl that he feels is out of his league for whatever reason. Maybe it's because she's younger and prettier than he's used to, or what, but it's not. Like, I don't think that this is a To Catch a Predator kind of thing. Yeah. I think we're looking at it through the wrong lens.
Yeah, I agree.
He does say, young are you? So, I mean, obviously he's, maybe he's afraid that he's got more experience than she does, and that's why it's not going to work out.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this is, I certainly don't think that she's like a high school cheerleader and he's a 23-year-old drunk. I think he's a 23-year-old drunk and she's a 19-year-old fan or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I didn't even think about the Fingernails and Cigarettes. There's a couple replacement songs where they reference how poorly they're eating. And like, but now that you made it kind of twitchy, like, so I'm assuming we're going to get into Peter Buck at some point during this, who played the guitar solo on this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
He had a huge speed problem at this point. Like they reference, there's another replacement song that's just about Peter Buck's speed problem. So when you were like twitchy, it's like, yeah, he may have just been dealing with a speed problem.
Yeah.
Like, just like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge big REM fan. I guess I'd never read that Peter Buck, I mean, other than the red wine on an airplane where he got, like in the late 90s, he got physical on an airplane or something like that. He had to get grounded and taken off. I didn't know he had a speed problem.
There's a lot of good, and I mean, like that, again, that biography I mentioned, it's like there's so much of it that's just about them because they were really good friends with REM, and there's just so much of it of them not understanding why, like, REM broke through the mainstream, they never did, and they both were kind of at points fuck ups, but like the replacements kind of wore their fuck up on. I mean, I guess it's like for the comedy analysis, like I know comics like this, you're like, oh, that guy's fucked up all the time, but he can go on stage and like everybody's like, he's so clean and proper, and then someone else who you're like, that guy's fucked up all the time, and when he's on stage you can tell that guy's fucked up all the time.
Yeah. Yep,
for sure. I never did. I mean, I stopped doing comedy when I was about 26, but I never did a show like completely sober. Like I always had to get like into the comfort zone. Like it had to be like a beer and a shot and then a drink in my hand when I was on stage, or I just didn't feel comfortable. I just never got to a professional point where I could do it in my own brain. I needed that confidence.
I don't understand comics that can do it high. And I guess it's only professional pot smokers that can do it. But like I've said it so many times on this podcast, weed does not interact with me well. I would get up there and just have a meltdown. It would be the worst. And some
I have
some like on like just a regular panic attack or because of weed.
Oh no, it was weed.
Okay.
It was I don't handle weed well either. And like it was like I mean, again, a lot of this weirdly goes back to the year I lived in Minneapolis where drugs were plentiful. But I've been on stage on a number of substances and you would never know the difference. But the second I'm high, everyone knows fucking immediately. Yeah. I still remember I did a show in Toledo once and I got high. Like the headliner kind of talked me into getting high. Yeah. And I was on stage the whole time just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to talk to these people. I don't remember my jokes. I should have gotten a real job. What the fuck am I doing?
Yes.
That's what would happen to me. You just get caught in that self, what's it, like just a self-hating loop that I get stuck in anytime I smoke pot. Like there's no way I could get out of it. Couldn't complete a thought. Wouldn't happen.
I could never do comedy sloppy drunk though. I was like you, Ben. I would I have to have a drink. I would down like a Bud Light. And then have another one to take on stage just to sip on to take a break. But there was a couple times where I felt like it was like this long going show and it was like a 24-hour show and everybody was just waiting on their spots. It was a weird thing. And I was like, ooh, I'm getting to the point where I felt myself slur and I was like, no. You cannot get up there and slur. You can't be obviously drunk.
I only did it, and this was kind of towards the, so I was at one point on a 3-year tour. I never had a week off for 3 straight years.
Oh.
And
that'd be fantastic.
The 3rd year of that, I was sometimes a mess. And the problem with me when I was a mess, it wasn't that I was just slurring. I would think things were funny, and I'd be like, let's do this. And, it wasn't like I was playing, and, I mean, I don't mean to, speak down about any place, but I was playing very corporate comedy clubs. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like I was in a weird art space where they were like, hey, he had this weird idea and let's just go with it. It was like the Des Moines Funny Bone where they were like, what is that guy doing?
Yeah,
that's also what I was like, yeah, I need to stop drinking. I think that was that moment.
Yep. What do we have here? Come on, meet me any place, anytime. We just have the chorus again.
Meet me any place or anywhere or anytime. I don't care. Maybe tonight, if you will dare, I will dare. And then, of course, it goes into how young are you? How old am I? Let's count the rings around my eyes. How smart are you? How dumb am I?
How smart are you?
So, yeah,
how smart are you? How dumb am I? Yep.
Yeah, so I wonder, it's weird. I mean, I hate to get back into the sexual predator thing again, but that is kind of challenging. Like you're saying, are you smart enough to avoid this trap? And how dumb am I to set it for you was, I guess, one way to look at it if you really wanted to pull it apart.
The more we talk about this, and I know this is where it broke up last time, I really do think this is a song about him and Tommy.
Okay.
I really do think this is just a song about them causing trouble, because there's a lot of, in replacement lore, if you can find the song Portland, which was unreleased, but it's been on a million compilations since, they've written a lot of songs about where they were like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. There was a lot of self-reflection of not the kind of self-reflection where you change your behavior, but the kind where you're just oh, whoops, my bad. It's because the age thing, it just struck me as a throwaway line. I know you had someone else on here who you were talking about specifically songwriting with, and I don't remember whom it was, but it's you were kind of do you ever just write a line that means nothing with the rest of the song? And it's someone who's written a lot of songs. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You just sometimes write toss-off lines that you're this fits rhythmically or whatever, but yeah, I mean, I think it's different when you're listening to this song for the first time as a 17-year-old guy and you're just well, whatever. But I really now think
43-year-old female in the Me Too era. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, I think the more that I really do think, especially since 16 Blue was also on this album, I think this is really a song about him and Tommy, and maybe with the twitching also Peter Buck, because he's on the song.
I did not even consider that. Now when I go back and look at these lyrics and I think about two young guys just kind of wanting to get into trouble, I'm like, oh, I see it clear as day now.
Yeah, it's
I
just
think
like we just
figured it
assume
out.
that it's a song. It must be romantic, but there's nothing in there that suggests it.
There's no romantic lines in this. There's no let's take all our clothes off. There's nothing. It just sounds like someone who wants to get into some shit.
Yeah, we
Jeremy,
figured it out.
I think you're absolutely right. Where's my gavel?
Well, I feel so much better about it now.
So do I.
We got to rush to songfacts.com and defend Paul Westerberg's honor.
I know.
Still a noble gentleman.
Because when we started, I feel like it felt like a version like I suggested Benny Mardones's "Into the Night."
What is
I
that?
don't know that song.
It's the song that starts. It's the song that starts with the line, "She's just 16 years old. Leave her alone." They said.
Oh,
do you know that? It was an early '80s song that used to play in the barber shop where I got my haircut when I was a kid. It's if you have not looked like I know everyone knows 17 by Winger, and that's creepy.
Yeah.
This song is 100% creepier.
Oh,
Into the Night by Benny Mardones is possibly the creepiest song ever.
Oh, I think a lot of people don't realize how creepy "Don't Stand So Close to Me" is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also completely creepy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at least that at least I've read that Sting was like, well, I just wrote it after reading Lolita.
Yeah.
Like, so if it's not personal, if it's just like I read this book and I wanted to write, it's still kind of creepy, but it's like.
But it was personal. Sting was a school teacher, and that song is about a teacher and a student relationship. So there definitely is an uncomfortable reality to that song for sure.
Yeah.
And as you say that, Ben, there's never been a moment where Sting has talked where I haven't gone, I think this guy's sexually creepy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like in the 90s where he was always like, I like tantric sex. I was like, I didn't need to know that.
Yeah, but stop.
It's one of the few things I know about Sting is that he lives in an English country manner, and he likes to brag that just the royalties from every breath you take pay for its daily upkeep. And he claims to be able to have sex for like upwards of 9 hours at a time.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I could have completely done without that knowledge.
I used to have a joke, like if I have sex for an hour, I was bored for 45 minutes. Like, I do not need that long. No. God.
Let's get this over with. We got to get on with our day, for God's sake. Sting, I think, is probably the guy who like I love his music. I love the work that he, but like you know, when they come, like, can you separate the art from the artist? Like, I think it was Sting that sort of taught me to do that, because I like everything that he's done. I hate everything that he has to say about just about anything.
That's me with Morrissey now.
Yes, absolutely. But also, when you say you like everything Sting's done, does that include the song he did with Rod Stewart and Bryan Adams?
Oh, the one from the Three Musketeers, the three.
Yes.
Yeah, what was that song?
Yes.
Oh my God! I know when I was a kid.
All for Love.
Yes.
I'm not going to sing to get you guys in any kind of whatever ASCAP trouble. Yep.
I think we're allowed to sing. Oh my God. Yeah, you know, I went on a Smiths kick the other day, and I was like, I love it. I love this music. It is the core of who I am. And it's so bizarre that I can be like, all right, I just have to separate. I love this music. I hate him now, but it's the same way I can defend laughing at Cosby's jokes, man. They were fucking funny jokes. I'm sorry.
So you know what I do with the Smiths? This is my pass on the Smiths. I just always drill down on how much I like Johnny Marr.
Yes.
So like Johnny Marr's, but like actually that guitar right there, that's a Johnny Marr model.
Wow.
Like that's his signature model. And I always drill down like, yeah, Morrissey can go fuck off, but Johnny Marr's one of my 5 favorite guitars, so I can listen to the Smiths. Like that's always my excuse.
Yep. We're gonna have J.R. Brow on the podcast in a few weeks, and he and I met with this like funny Smiths. It had to do with the Smiths, and I think I'm going to try to strong arm him into doing a Smiths episode, because we're due. We got to do one.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah. Would you tell him also I said hello and I miss him?
Yes, I will.
Absolutely.
So what else do we have? On the little bit from Song Facts that I was able to pick up, I like this one. I'll just read this last thing. In 1990, Bob Dylan visited the sessions for the Final Replacements album. Engineer Cliff Norrell recalled in Trouble Boys, the book, he was saying, my son's really into your band. You could see their eyes light up. And then Dylan goes, you're REM, right?
So that Dylan story is actually great. They were recording at Paisley Park, which is Prince's studio. Yeah. And Dylan was there, and they knew he was there, but they didn't know that he was like literally watching them. So there's a recording of them playing a song called Like a Rolling Pin. Okay. And it starts with a really drunk Westerberg going, Bob, come in here and play guitar. And then they just do the most wasted version of like a Rolling Stone you've ever heard. And Bob Dylan was standing behind the glass watching this happen.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
But they seem like how often does it?
Go ahead.
How often does something like that happen in music? Because that sounds like a comedy story, right? Like when you're starting out in comedy, you can go to an open mic for a year or two, and you literally might find yourself at an open mic with some of the biggest comedians in the world. Yes. You just got to figure out a way to behave. You wouldn't think that would happen all that often in music.
Yeah.
In terms of recording, I mean, again, my experience is limited in the fact, I'm not recording in Prince's studio, so I have no idea who's walking through Paisley Park on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like when you get to a certain level, that does actually kind of happen. Like maybe it's not on the open mic level, but kind of, I mean, if you assume when we're talking about like indie rock from like the late 80s to early 90s, like maybe you call that level like featuring.
Yeah.
Like it seems to like happen kind of like there's it seems to actually happen kind of quite often.
Yeah, you still have like small bands opening for bigger bands, and then there's festivals where you're all maybe backstage. You don't have to be where the general public is. I think it happens way more in comedy, especially like when we were coming up at the Laugh Stop. I mean, that place was open 6 days a week, and back then comedians would come in and do Wednesday through Sunday. I mean, there's so many opportunities to hang out with Colin Quinn or David Tell or Rogan. I mean, it was just constant.
Yeah. Well,
so many opportunities to embarrass yourself in front of your heroes.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. But I think, and that's a great example, especially where comedy was like in the early 2000s, where it was like clubs were open. Like, Ben, you probably don't even remember meeting me. Like, we actually met in like 2002, I think.
At Rudyard's?
At the Laugh Stop.
Oh, was it the Laugh Stop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in town.
I don't remember specifically meeting you, but I was very drunk and had my head pretty far up my ass when I was 22. Yeah. I apologize.
No, I literally just said hi to you. Like I wouldn't remember it. I actually remember more. I was on my way to Austin and I was hanging out with Greg Warren, and we picked up Andy Huggins to go to, who I had never met. And at the time I had a shaved head and a bunch of piercings in my face. And Huggins just gets in the car. He doesn't even say hi. He just looks at Greg and he goes, Jesus Christ, where'd you pick this guy up? The something art fair? It was like some local Houston art fair.
Nice. You're like, hi, Lindsay.
Hi, guy, I don't know, but I've heard, like, knows people. Okay, I'm just gonna sit over here with my art fair ass. All right.
It's no big deal. Andy was just best friends with Bill Hicks, and he's just dogging on you. It's no big deal.
That's cool. Whatever. I'll just be in the corner of Greg's Camry. It's
cool. That's awesome.
But no, I think there is. I mean, because what I've learned, doing both music and comedy is like there's a lot more places to do music. You know what I mean? Like you could. Oh. Even locally, like the fact that you don't meet bands is like not that weird. Like, I mean, by the time I left St. Louis, I was playing in 4 bands, and there were still bands I had never met.
So what did you do first, comedy or music?
So my first band, I was 15, so I was in high school. So I played in that band. I played in 2 bands in college, and then when I graduated college, I started doing comedy, because I realized all I really wanted to do in life was tour. Like, I didn't really care what I was touring doing. I just, I think if comedy hadn't worked out, I would have joined the circus or something. Like, and then I didn't play in another band until I was 35. So I had like a long layoff, and then I started playing in bands again in St. Louis, and then just one begat another, right, so on and so forth.
What do you like better?
Oh, music. 1,000%.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I would too if I could sing. Like, it's because comedy is insane, and like my friends who are musicians are like, I couldn't do what you do. There, you have no backup. It's just you and a microphone and your thoughts. And my friends, I go watch them play, and I'm like, you did great, and they tell me all the ways they messed up, and I was like,
oh sure,
clueless. I would have never known.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to tell me. But a comic, when they mess up most of the time.
Yeah. I think it's that, and I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but it's like after I tell a joke a couple times, I'm like, yeah, okay, it works. I'm kind of over it. Like, especially like I said, when I was touring, I was like, but I have to keep telling it because this is how I'm paying my rent. So here we fucking go again. And like with music, it's like I can play a song 10 times and I still am like, oh, I'm just jumping around like an idiot. Like there's still a backbeat to it. It's still comedy is not danceable. It's just after a while you're like, yeah, okay, I know how that goes. Hey, look, they laughed again. Great.
Yeah.
Do you have to invest in a song differently than you do in a joke? Because like when it's a joke in front of a live audience, you feel that energy and you're sort of surfing on top of it. But when you're playing music, like, do you have to, like, if you're singing a sad song, do you have to like force yourself into sad thoughts? Or an angry song, do you have to get angry? Like, how do you gin yourself up for a show like that?
I mean, I can't speak for anyone but myself, but yeah, I tend to live in the moment of the song. Like I can, because all of my songs are about something or someone or like I don't have any like, Lolita type songs where it's just like, oh, I read this book and I wrote this thing. Like it's so, I mean, even I was just practicing with a new drummer that I'm working with here in North Carolina. And some of those songs were like 4 years old at that point, and I was like immediately like I was back in that moment, like with this this guy that had never even heard the songs, and I was just like, oh, I'm reliving that breakup again.
Oh wow.
Awesome. And yeah, so even when I'm playing live like that, the bands that I'm more a sideman in, that I just play like keys or like guitar or whatever, those are easier for me because I didn't write the lyrics, so it's what I mean, it's just kind of like I'm just going to add this cool vibe, and if I change it a little bit, like, who cares, whereas when I'm singing, it's kind of like, yep, I'm back in the week of my divorce again. Here we go. Hey, there's that riff, so, but it's also not, I mean, I don't know. It's not,
it's gotta be cathartic. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
how I picture it. And I'm so mad that I can't sing because I'm like, I feel like I wouldn't be that stressed out if I could just get it out.
It definitely is helpful.
It just seems like it would never get out to me. Like if I wrote something that revealing and that affecting, I wouldn't want to, like, there's no way I could relive it night after night. It would just be too exhausting.
Oh, but you can hide it in poetry. You know what I mean? Like you can hide anything in metaphor, like the song about my divorce specifically, it's like, it's about being like, if you listen to it, and I think if you broke it down, you'd be like, oh, that's about just wandering this one neighborhood drunk. And like the whole thing that's left off of it is, why? I just found out that I'm getting divorced, and that's why I'm wandering this neighborhood drunk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The audience doesn't have to know.
Yeah.
I like that.
Whereas with comedy, you can't really speak in metaphor. You know what I mean? I can't.
You have to tell the truth.
Oh, I saw this thing, and here's this feeling, and then I'm like, no, really, it's about this thing I saw at the mall. And they're like, well, why didn't you just tell us about the mall? Why was there a turtle in that?
Yeah, no, the joke's not funny if it's not honest, and the audience can sniff it out. Like that's the thing in comedy is you have to be brutally honest and self-deprecating sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking of being brutally honest and self-deprecating, I have to check out for a minute. I'm sure you'll understand why. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. We can just talk.
Okay.
Ben has to go pee-pee.
Oh, nice.
I was trying to think what I wanted to talk about how drunk this band was, because in all the research I could find, the focus was on how much they drank. And the one, I can't remember which guy it was, it died at like 35 of organ failure.
Oh, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob did. So the two things that I wanted to hit, because there's a big part of that, I want to hit this game I used to play called 6 Degrees of Tommy Stinson.
Okay.
And then if we get to it, when I met Paul Westerberg.
Oh,
those were the three things I wanted to get to.
Let's make sure we get to those. Hold on. The Drunkenness was that first.
Yep.
Stinson game, 6 Degrees.
6 Degrees of Tommy Stinson, yeah.
And then how you met Paul. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also want to hear your outfield story.
Oh, yeah. I was assuming you were going to throw that into Guilty Pleasures.
Well, yeah, we'll do that.
So, yeah, that was... I kind of feel it's not a great story in terms of them. So I feel kind of bad, but it is a funny story.
Okay.
So,
sorry, everybody.
That's all right.
So I wanted to talk about how drunk this band was.
Yep.
Oh, so do I. Did you watch the Saturday Night Live appearance? Or legendary?
I read about it. I didn't have time to go watch it. Is it as bad as it sounds?
It's not as bad as it sounds, but when you think like just in terms of everything that was going on that evening, it's incredible because the host that night is Harry Dean Stanton, who's quite a heavy drinker. The stand-up comic doing a special guest appearance is Sam Kinison,
oh, God.
no slouch in the getting fucked up department, and yet somehow the replacements were far and away the drunkest, most objectionable act on the show that night. It's incredible.
That's great.
So they
so
apparently...
you can... Sorry,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to... Okay, I was just going to say, you can find it on YouTube, but yeah, like according again to that book, Trouble Boys, they were like stuck in a room all day as one is generally with SNL. And so they started drinking and they started doing a bunch of blow. And then they did the first song and they were actually doing pretty well. And so Paul yelled to Bob, "Nail it, fucker," meaning the solo, but it went out over the air.
Yes,
they have two of the "we were drunk and this went out over the air" stories. But that was the one and so I guess Lorne Michaels didn't catch it at first or something. So they played their second song, and by the time the second song they played, they had all put on each other's clothes. Like they just all switched clothes. And then I guess at the end, Lorne Michaels lost his mind. You know, it was like, they'll never be on TV again. And so when Paul was doing his solo, like his first solo tour, and Heston was hosting, they were like, just the only thing is don't tell Lorne Michaels this guy was in the Replacements.
Yeah. Did he do Dyslexic Heart? Was it that time of his life?
It was, they did, he did Can't Hardly Wait, and I think Knockin' on Mine. It was like two of the songs. It wasn't the stuff off singles, but
okay.
yeah, it was essentially that period. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was that scary moment in Saturday Night Live where it was going to get canceled, right? It was like the year or two after Lorne Michaels like took back over again. It's like 1986. So I think Lorne had only been back for like a season or two, and Warner Brothers Records was basically doing a favor for the Replacements and trying to like push them on. So it was like, Lorne Michaels felt like he was doing a favor for Warner Brothers Records, and then all of a sudden they get this fucked up band, the Replacements, right at the moment where Saturday Night Live was about to get canceled. So that's why like Lorne Michaels hit the roof because he was afraid that this was going to be like the death knell for his whole show.
Right.
Which really would have been something else.
There's probably a million drunken story. Like this could be an 8-hour podcast of us just going, and then what about this time they were drunk? Like,
yeah.
But like when you get like, for me at least, at the time I got into this band, it was like you would start hearing some of these stories. You would hear them from record store owners, and then you would hear from like news groups as the internet started doing a thing. And I was big into tape trading. So I would trade bootlegs with people, and they'd be like, "Oh, you got to get this show from New Orleans. They were this fucked up," or "This is the one where Bob didn't show up for the gig," or like, you know. And so I have like this whole collection of bootlegs, and it became this mythology of like, but no one could do that. Like, not to mention, like, wait, the bass player was 12? Like, what is happening? Like, no one, this isn't real. This just sounds stupid. And then when Trouble Boys came out, you read that book and you were like, oh my God, 4 people lived this? And it was worse than I had heard.
Oh my God.
Like, it was like, oh, not only can Superman fly, he can just destroy things if he wants. And he's still alive somehow.
Until the one guy died at 35. Wah, wah. Good job, Debbie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was, I mean, it's, you know, and again, I'm not going to extra make it Debbie Downer, but like if you get in that book and you read like Bob's like youth, you're like, oh yeah, I could see how that would just make you, because I mean essentially it would be, like there's a reason I have these size bottles of Jack Daniels with me tonight, and it's because of the pandemic, I'm not allowed to have liquor in my house, because when I get bored, I'll just start drinking. So it's like I have to be like, all right, 2, and then you can't have any more in the house. Like that's how you're gonna. And like if you read the story of like Bob Stinson, it's like, yeah, no, he just drank from wake up to fall asleep, and mix in some coke and some speed and some heroin, and yeah, that's how you die at 35.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Good God. Do I need to start doing coke? Is that what I need to do so that I can get my drinking legs back under me again? Get some confidence up? Should I start doing cocaine, Dianne?
Ben, you're in the 40s. I hate to break it to you, but it's time for like yoga and bed at 8.
yeah.
This is what we have to do now to survive.
You want to do cocaine? Could I interest you in some honeydew melon?
Yes. A good night's sleep.
Have you had matcha green tea yet, sir?
Yeah. B vitamins with your coffee in the morning. 1 cup is all you need.
That would be incredible, though. It's like, what happened to Ben? It's like, yeah, you just started doing coke at 40. It's like with like those rare stories where you're like, yes, someone just picked up smoking at 45, and you're like, what?
Were they told they were given a week to live? I mean,
yeah, like.
All right, so go ahead.
I just felt it was something I'd always missed out on. Like I need to have my cocaine days.
I had them, and you super didn't.
No.
Yeah.
It's 2 or 3 really good memories and a boatload of like, oh yeah, I see why I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a friend of mine going, "You're the best version of yourself when you're on it." And I think she was talking about herself, and I had seen her on it, and I was like, "You're the worst version of yourself on it."
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, weirdly, to all this replacement stuff, that's where I picked that up. That's where I was doing coke. Was in like drugs are so. I think because it's so cold and there's nothing to do in the winter. Like drugs are so unbelievably plentiful in Minneapolis. Like it's they're just. I have so many friends that I've met there that are like, yeah, and then the last time I went to Hazelden, which is a rehab center, and like everybody
wow.
Oh yeah, I met this person at Hazelden. Like everybody's been through rehab. It's a fun city, but it's a weird city.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where David Carr was famous, the journalist David Carr.
Yes.
You must have read his book, right? Or run across him?
Yeah.
I was a huge David Carr fan because I went to school for graphic design, and he's a graphic designer as well.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I just knew him as like the legendary journalist, and because he wrote The Year of the Gun, which is one of the more disturbing books I think I've ever read, and it's all about drug use in Minneapolis.
Yep.
Unless I'm confusing him, but yeah, go ahead though.
Now, he was a journalist in Minneapolis for a long time, and then and a drug abuser for a long time. And then he got clean and became a legendary journalist who was an editor for the New York Times. And I think he passed like 15 years ago or something like that. But yeah, he wrote a book called The Year of the Gun, which is or The Night of the Gun, I'm sorry. And it's just crazy because he gets so immersed in cocaine and so delusional on drugs that there was an incident where a friend of his had assaulted him with a gun, and that was the night that he decided to sober up. So he goes and he goes probably into Hazelden and spends a couple of months getting sober and working on himself. And as he's doing the steps, he realizes that he's got to he has a what do they call it, a regret, or he's vindictive against this guy, and he needs to go make it right. So he wants to go 12-step with this guy who assaulted him with a gun. And when he goes over to this guy's house, that's when the guy tells him, like, what are you talking about? No, you brought that gun over here. You were assaulting me with the gun.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
Oh God.
I never got that bad.
No. Fuck, dude. Can you imagine where you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please.
Well.
Ooh, I super had those roles reversed. My bad.
Okay. Sorry. Well, before we run out of time, I want to get to your 6 degrees of Stinson. What's this game?
Yeah, so Tommy Stinson, who's the bass player I've been talking about, he I started noticing like he did a lot of session work. Like he's been on like a Cracker album and like a Whiskey Town album and all these weird albums. And then so I noticed this, and he just started he was Duff's replacement in Guns N' Roses. He was in Soul Asylum.
Yeah.
Like, so you remember the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game?
Yeah.
You can trace any musician back to Tommy Stinson within 6 steps.
Oh, we should start doing that on future podcasts.
I used to do it on a radio show called Slip of the Disc in St. Louis that my friends Eric and Jeff had, and that's how we would program the playlist. I would pick a band and we'd go back all the way to Tommy Stinson. So just today, just getting ready for this, I was like, oh, let's do some weird ones. Like, I connected him to Ricky Martin. Like, wow. And I know people are like, well, you couldn't connect the guy from The Replacements to Katy Perry. I can in 2 steps. Like, what
are they?
Oh, Katy Perry or Ricky Martin?
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry's actually super easy. So, Katy Perry, when she played the MTV Music Awards, she had Joe Perry from Aerosmith and John Worster from Superchunk and the Mountain Goats were her backing band. And John Worster toured with Whiskey Town. Tommy Stinson recorded a song with Whiskey Town. So there you go.
Hey, done and done. Extra points for as short as you can do it, or do you get extra points for going the whole 6 degrees?
Okay, so that's the thing. I used to try to do it as short as possible, but now, especially if you're making playlists, it's fun to do it a weird way. So there's like a million ways to do Eddie Van Halen, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the fun way to do Eddie Van Halen is Eddie Van Halen to Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Michael Jackson to Willie Nelson on We Are the World.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Willie Nelson to Ryan Adams. Ryan Adams produced Willie Nelson's Songbird album.
Uh-huh.
Ryan Adams was the lead singer in Whiskey Town. Tommy Stinson. And and then you get into like there's like fun ways to do the Dixie Chicks and like just all these bands. You're like, there's no way you could do that. You can do Taylor Swift through Nelly to Tommy Stinson. Like it's like I love playing this game. So
it feels like We Are the World is a good hub for this game, though. Like a lot of people go through that.
There are key hubs. We Are the World is one of them.
Uh-huh.
The band Whiskey Town.
Okay.
There could be a Farm Aid. I don't know the Farm Aid connection. The main ones I've found is like Guns N' Roses, a band called London, which was an LA metal band that like everybody was in at some point.
Okay.
John Worster, because he's drummed with a lot of people. And Puff Daddy is one you need to have.
Oh, okay.
Because there was that All About the Benjamins. Well, no, it was the All About the Benjamins Rock and Jock remix. And Tommy Stinson played bass on that, and Dave Grohl was the drummer. So then you can run everything. You can run a lot of stuff through Dave Grohl, who's played with a bunch of people.
Yes. I like how you're a seasoned
This is my favorite little game.
Yes.
Well, I've been doing this since like 2000. Like I've been playing this game in my head for 20 years.
Oh, that's great. All right. Tell us how you met Paul Westerberg.
Okay. So, and this is like, when they're like, you should never meet your heroes because they won't live up to it. He super did in like the weirdest way possible. So when he was on his Stereo Mono tour, I saw him 2 nights. I saw him in Cincinnati, and then I saw him in Indianapolis. And the club in Indianapolis, the Vogue, is right next to Crackers, the comedy club there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys probably know these two. Tim Northern and Isaac Whitty were performing at Crackers. Do y'all know them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the Westerberg show, and then they were like, hey, we're at this bar right down the street. Come meet us. And I was like, all right. So I hung out at the bar for a while. And then I was going back to my car, and I'm parked behind the Vogue. Westerberg's tour bus is parked behind the Vogue, and he's just sitting on it, signing people's guitars, being friendly, whatever. And I always thought autographs were stupid. My friend and I always had a deal. We were each allowed to get one autograph in our life, and his was Trey from Fish because he's a moron. And mine was Westerberg. And I was like, and I just bought this really expensive lithograph at the show, and I was like, well, this is perfect timing. He's right there. There's 5 people in line. I've got this lithograph. I'm going to have him sign it. And as I'm walking up to him, he's just being so playing people's guitars. And part of me was like, yo, you're supposed to be like surly and kind of depressive. Like, you shouldn't be this friendly. But I walk up and like, again, I was like 23 at the time and a total fanboy. And I just go, hey, man, your music really meant a lot to me. And he just goes, yes, it's worth something. And didn't even ask my name, just signed it and goes, get out of here.
Oh, no.
And so he weirdly lived up to exactly what I wanted him to be. Like he was nice to everybody else, but he was a complete smart ass to me. And I was like, yeah, that's who I wanted you to be. Thanks, man.
Thank
So
you.
that lithograph is still hanging over my couch.
That's awesome. That's awesome. God, I hate those moments where you're just like, it was gonna be so cool in my head, and then like, what happened? I just like, bah.
We don't have time for them, but like there was a moment where I didn't realize I was having dinner with the guitar player from Fall Out Boy, where I bragged about how good of a guitar player I was because I was a little drunk. I had a weird encounter with Doug from Built to Spill. Like I have a zillion of those stories, but like the Westerberg one is my favorite, where I was like, this is my hero. Nope, said the jackass thing, and he was a jackass. Perfect.
That's awesome.
I was like, perfect. Put a bow on it.
Well, let's stop it there because I think you're right. I think we could talk about the replacements for 8 hours.
Well, I could, and so you should stop me there, if nothing else.
Well, so our Dressed Up Like a Douche this week is from Bethany Rios, who is a friend of ours, married to comedian Danny Rios. And she wrote the song Betty Davis Eyes. She thought she would say, haul a bathtub just to please ya. Haul a bathtub. And she's like, I mean, that is some effort.
Really is.
I mean, I've done some dumb things for women. Yeah, I've done some dumb things in relationships. I could see myself at points being like, move that bathtub, like no problem.
Yeah. Clawfoot, I got it. Don't worry about it.
I've definitely been in some women's shitty apartments that could use a bathtub replacement, but that is not my pig, not my farm.
All right, let's get into guilty pleasures. Ben, do you have a guilty pleasure song?
I do, and this one came. I was just kind of researching and going down a YouTube hole, and I was reading about the story behind the Gin Blossoms, which is kind of hilarious. They were like kind of like a regional success in, I think it was Phoenix, Arizona, and then they garnered some major label, and they're like McCartney or Lennon. I forgot the name of their chief songwriter, but he was a
Doug
drunk
Hopkins.
and a Doug Hopkins. Is that who it is? I'd never heard a story like this before. Like, there's plenty of stories of like the
it's crazy and it's really sad. Yeah,
it really is. He got thrown out of the band before the album was even released. Like they're recording their big hit, or what was to become their big hit band, and they threw out their chief songwriter because he was just a drunken mess. And the song that hit big was, of course, called "Hey Jealousy." So I'm just imagining this guy, Doug Hopkins, sitting at home in Phoenix, just listening to his own song on the radio, listening to somebody else sing, "Hey, jealous." Yeah, I am jealous. Thank you very much. I'm very, very jealous.
That song was huge. You couldn't get away with that song.
Actually, we've actually hit on the two tribute bands I've ever been in. I was in a Replacements tribute band, and I was in a Gin Blossoms tribute band.
Holy shit, Jeremy.
These were just both one-offs. But that Doug Hopkins story, I don't want to say like you should make yourself sadder, but if you ever get a chance to read the Phoenix New Times story that was written right after he committed suicide.
I didn't know he committed suicide. I would have been laughing at him if he...
Oh, well, I'm just bringing in pedophilia and suicide and whatever else I can get in.
You bring the truth.
You guys are like, why do we have this guy on again?
That one's definitely on me. If I just finished the article, it probably would have mentioned that. It was laughing hysterically at it.
No, I mean, it's a very like, because it was kind of the same time, or at least when I found the bands, like his story and Andy Wood's story from Mother Love Bone are just two that make you go like, fuck, man, you had it all like right in front of you. Like, you know, with how big that album, or like, and like just how great those Mother Love Bone songs were. Like if those guys hadn't ever formed Pearl Jam, if Andy hadn't died, like it's just like, oh fuck, man, you almost made like, I don't know. Those stories just always make me feel like really sad.
It makes us feel like we're in a spin-off parallel universe of what happened because he died, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. What's your guilty pleasure song, Diane?
Oh, okay. So I was going to do Your Love by The Outfield since Tony Lewis just died, but I think I've already done it. I think that was already one of my guilty pleasures. I need to go back and look. I don't remember. So just in case it was, I don't want to double up. Okay. I have no problems loving this band. And some people who don't know put this band in with like, I don't know, bands like that don't get a lot of respect, like maybe 311 or other bands. I'm just going to say it. I love Sublime. I think 40 Ounces to Freedom is one of the best albums ever. But my guilty pleasure song is Santeria, because I will fucking sing it karaoke anywhere, anytime. I love Santeria by Sublime.
I totally agree. I love it as well, and I don't feel bad about it. Is that the one? Because there's a famous internet meme where he says, "I can play the guitar like a motherfucking riot," and then there's like it's like the kind of like the lamest solo,
the worst guitar riff ever. Yeah.
You're like, let's focus on your vocal range instead of your guitar playing.
Is that the joke? Do you think, Jeremy? Do you think when he says, "I can play the guitar like a motherfucking riot," and then it's just ding, 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 ding? Like, is he?
No. I mean, look, I've already brought so much garbage into this show. I don't want to bring any more. That, like, if you ever watch that behind the music, you just go like, oh, go fuck yourself. Like, he literally had everything, like, came from like a wealthy family, like everything was great. And like, he was like, no, but I super like heroin.
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay. And then they like would try to send him to rehab and he'd be like, no. And like, that album to me, like as we speak of things in post Me Too movement, that album is uncomfortable to listen to.
It really is. It really is. 40 Ounces of the mushroom tip, that whole song about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not even gonna get into it. Yeah. It's at the the time I was like.
Yeah, I don't. So I mean, you could be right, Ben. That could be the joke, but I don't think it was. Like, because there's no other song on there at which he displays his guitar prowess.
Right.
So you're kind of like, no, you're just repopulating reggae riffs. Like, I kind of get what you're doing on this album. I don't actually think you can play the guitar like a motherfucking riot. You can play it like that guy down the hall from me in my dorm.
It's unfortunate because Bradley Nowell had a very good voice. And there's one, like, he's live in concert and he does Sunday Bloody Sunday and it's incredible. And I was like, oh, you could have been more. He's one of those that shot himself in the foot.
Oh no, 100%. That dude could sing. That dude could, he could sing like a motherfucking riot.
Yeah. All right, Jeremy, what's your guilty pleasure song?
I'm just going to go with the band Kiss in general.
We've talked about it so much. Is it Beth? Say it's Beth.
No, it's not. No. Beth is not. I mean, although I did date a girl in college named Beth, but and I did definitely put that on a mixtape, and that is embarrassing. That is shameful, personally. But no, it's. I mean, like you pick like Room Service or something. Like, here's my thing with Kiss. I got into them in like 8th grade, and I think with Kiss you have to get into them around 8th grade, where you're like, I think I should start thinking about sex, but I don't understand sex. These guys are singing about sex in a way that I can understand it because they're singing about sex like 8th graders would sing about sex. Like, if you know what, like when I was in high school, there were a couple dudes that would like get in fights with their girlfriends, or it would just be Valentine's Day or whatever, and they would actually have me write a poem or the card to their lady friend.
Oh.
Wow.
Because they were like, I mean, I don't mean to put this in a like rude way, but because they were kind of like the football dumbass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were like your stereotypical. Okay, imagine if that guy just started writing love songs. That's Kiss, especially Gene Simmons. And so, because when you've talked about this previously on the show, you're like, it's like a song if you roll the windows up, right? And there's nothing I'm ashamed of. Like, I will argue for hours how good Debbie Gibson is. That is an autographed picture of Keith Sweat behind me. My band just worked out a new edition cover. I love like stuff, and I will proudly, but especially living in a college town where I don't think people know it. Like sometimes I'm worried I'll be driving down Rosemary if I have my windows down and a Kiss song comes on. It's not just like the kids will be like, what? They'll be like, call you Dr. Love. Fucking gross. But my house is also full of Kiss memorabilia because I was into it in 8th grade. So my friends from high school constantly send me Kiss shit.
Oh, that's
I have a Gene
awesome.
Simmons figure. I have an Ace Frehley figure. I have a Kiss poster in one of the rooms we recorded in tonight because I was bouncing all around my house. Like it's so like I'm like I have a certain love for it, like that'll never leave me. But if we're going straight with songs that would come on in your car, I'm like, oh yeah, I would never, like, Only in My Dreams by Debbie Gibson. If you want to look at me funny, get out. That's that is a dope song. But like, yeah, like Room Service by Kiss. Like, if you're looking at me weird, you're right. I'm wrong. I shouldn't be listening to this.
That's awesome. I love it when someone has a true, like, I feel real bad about this.
No, I super do.
Well, Jeremy, where can the listeners find more of you or hear more of you?
So the Defeated County, one of my bands, has an album coming out in 3 weeks.
Awesome.
And that is available for pre-sale on like iTunes or whatever. It's called An Early Fall.
Cool.
My other band that I'm still in, the one I sing in, Let's Not, has a bunch of stuff on iTunes.
Let's Not.
I'm a co-owner of Helium Comedy Records, so you can go to heliumcomedyrecords.com and check out any of our wonderful artists. And I don't know, I'm on Twitter and everything else just under my name, jeremyessig.com.
Perfect. Dude,
or you can find me driving down the streets in Chapel Hill just listening to Kiss and shamefully rolling up my window.
Just follow that guy.
Dude, this was an absolute delight. Thank you very much for coming on. This was a real pleasure.
I don't know if it'll make it, but this honestly is, I look forward to this podcast every week, and I'm so grateful for y'all having me on here. I really appreciate it. This was so fun. I love it.
Oh, that makes me feel good. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye because I get weird when I do my business when people are on here.
All right. Yep. Weird Zoom wave. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Bye.
Oh, that was a clear. Usually you get the person who's like this. That was great. That was awesome. I'm so glad
He's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun.
It's great to have someone who's so like knowledgeable too about music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to guide us. We don't know shit.
Because we're dumb. All right. Next week is going to be fun too, though. We will be joined by our friend and comedian Kristen Linder to talk about Duran Duran.
Yes.
And it's a Patreon vote week, and I've already put it on Patreon. They're already voting. They are voting on Rio, Come Undone, and Ordinary World. Come Undone and Ordinary World are like, when they came kind of back in the 90s, and I was trying to pick there was Hungry Like a Wolf. There were so like Girls on Film. I didn't know what to pick. And I settled on Rio because I'll just say this. It's not what you think it's about. When I read about it, because I just like Rio, there's nothing to dissect there. It's a dumb song. And then I found out it's not. So it's not winning yet, but we'll see what happens. We still need 5 more votes.
Look at you building a mystery.
I know. And if they don't pick Rio, I'll tell you the mystery anyway. Special thank you to Chuck Savage and Eddie Hawkins for our amazing intro music. If you would like to support the podcast, you can go onto patreon.com/rockthecashbar, $5 a month. You get some cool perks like voting on episodes, and you get episodes early, and you get some cool swag. I need to get your sister some cool swag. I need to get it.
Yes.
And, please, the biggest thing you can do to support us is just share it. Share, tell a friend, and write a review on Apple Podcasts. That's where it counts. That would really help a lot. You can listen to our Spotify playlist, which is now mostly guilty pleasure songs. I listened to it today in the shower, and I was like, oh, this is getting not good. And you can find that on Spotify, or you can go to our website, rockthecashbarpodcast.com. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you next Thursday.
Thank you, Vogue.